Hey, how's it going, everybody? So behind me, this is my 2021 Mazda Miata MX5. This is the RF is the trim level on it. And this right here is the Goodwin Racing single tip exhaust. I believe it is I think it's called the Roadster Sport Race. But anyway, got it. Going to install it today. This will not be a tutorial on installing the exhaust itself, nor will it be a sound comparison between the stock exhaust and that. There's a million and one videos out there that covers this on how to install it, sound comparisons and things like that. But this video is what it is basically a concern that came up, probably especially if this is a daily driver. Like this is a daily driver. I drive this to work, back and forth and everything. Love the car, so I'm driving it. But anyway, there's a concern about when you take the stock exhaust out and put the aftermarket exhaust in, that the Goodwin Racing exhaust has a lot smaller footprint than the stock exhaust underneath behind the bumper. And what this could potentially create is almost like a parachute kind of effect from the back bumper. In other words, you take this big stock exhaust out from underneath the back end of this thing, what you could end up with is a lot less space, not covered up inside there, and basically you have a large area where air can get trapped and create drag, which then can slow down your vehicle, use more fuel, etc. And if this is a daily driver like this is for me, especially these days, you know, fuel efficiency is an important thing, even though you want to get cool little toys for it possibly, and just so you can make your ride a little more fun. So the purpose of this video is to put this in. I'm going to run a couple of tests like I've done before. We're going to do a run with it having the stock exhaust in an area that I've done this run before, actually. There's a couple mile area where it's kind of flat. It goes down a little bit, and then it goes up a little bit. And we're going to see how it reads on fuel consumption, stock, install the aftermarket, and then we'll run the same run. I know there'll be a couple of factors that may change. You know, the air temperature can change, humidity, barometric pressure, amount of fuel that's in the tank. There can be a lot of factors that may or may not, you know, I don't know how accurate it'll be anyway. But maybe we'll get kind of at least be able to tell if whether or not having the aftermarket does create enough drag where it does actually eat up more fuel than we would expect. Which I got the Race because it's a single tip. Not a big fan of the single tips because it comes stock with a dual tip. But the reason I got that is because later I plan on getting the Veris rear diffuser for this thing. And really you need a single tip for that because a dual tip, it just doesn't. You have to do a bunch of modifications to the diffuser and stuff, and I don't want to have to do that. I want it to be plug and play. But anyway, I'll show you. But anyway, we'll get down here. I'll show you what the stock exhaust looks, and then I'll install the aftermarket, and I'll show you what I'm talking about, the big space that's left where the aftermarket normally is. As you can see, here is the stock muffler, the dual tips. It's very, very large. It takes up pretty much most of the area under here. And it's almost like the stock muffler by itself acts like a wind deflector, not allowing it to get trapped inside the bumper here. So when we take this out, if you can imagine, all of that's going to be gone. And it's a straight pop design with I think it's called a Helmholtz chamber. I may be saying that wrong. But it is roughly, the footprint's probably, I'd probably say about a third this size. Which then begs the question is, does air then get trapped behind here, especially when you get up to highway speeds, and it drags the car down. So that's what we're gonna test in this video and see. So there's your stock. There it is. As you can see, it's pretty tiny. I believe this is a 2.5-inch tip. I'm gonna leave this on until I get it installed. It's got a nice finish to it. There's your Helmholtz chamber. There's your welds. Welds are okay. They're probably some of you guys more experienced with welds would probably say that's a pretty lousy job, but a lot better than I could do. Yeah, not too bad. Oh, seen worse. At least they're at least attempting to stack dimes there. I could probably stand I've got some things in there. I may grind that down before I install it. Overall build quality, not too shabby. Oh. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah, here it is. Not bad. You can tell. See, big gap under here now. So you got all this area. See, wind coming under there. You don't have all of that across here now to deflect all that air from getting trapped up inside the bumper here. The bumper basically turning it into almost like a sailboat effect. Matter of fact, it might even flap in certain conditions. So, thing is, do a run stock, and then we're going to do the run after the install, and we're going to see if it has any effect on the fuel efficiency of this vehicle. If it does, then we'll know that the bumper is kind of being used almost as a sailboat, like a sail. But anyway, all right, let's see what the results are. All right, approaching the test site. Get up this little hill. We'll pick it up to 65. There we go. So 65 mile an hour. Now we're at 46, looks like. Roll up these windows. Bunch of racket. Alright. And again, this is stock. Stock exhaust, so next clip will be with the aftermarket to see if we get any less fuel mileage. Just on pretty flat ground, 65 mile an hour, 81 degrees. Got a little downhill, so it may go up a little bit. There we are, 57 and a half. It's probably going to maintain that. Then when we go up this other hill, it's going to go back down a little bit. So hovering mid-40s to mid-50s, something like that. We got another little hill, 36. So we'll do the other clip to see about where we're at. See if we got any drag. Because if we got any drag, then obviously the fuel mileage should go down just a little bit. So we'll do that next. All right, so I do have the exhaust installed. We're fixing to run the second test and see if I got any drag on it. Now, I guess it's probably about 28 degrees cooler now. You notice I got a jacket on now, but it was 81 degrees, I believe, something like that on the first go with the stock exhaust. It's 53 today, and there's also a little bit of rain. You can see everything's kind of wet anyway. So humidity is different, temperature is different, so that alone by itself, the cooler temperatures, there's probably going to have an effect. So we'll see what we come up with, and may not be any difference at all. Could be a change, I don't know. But let's see kind of a fuel efficiency we get, and if we can judge whether or not we're getting any drag off of this thing. All right, I just don't think this is going to be a good test. I don't know. I got a car in front of me, so I'm kind of drafting them. Let's see if I can get over. I'm entering the test zone now. It was bouncing back and forth between 47 and 57 on that last test, but it's also 30 degrees cooler, so I just don't know if this is going to work or not. We shall see. I drove it a little hard to try to make sure to get a lot of the coolant, the oil, and the gearbox and everything kind of heated up a little bit. Let's see. I don't see a lot of difference. We're at 46 right now. Let's see what happens when we hit this little downhill right here. It's also a little breezy, and that may screw me up. Yeah, no change right there. Fixing to hit the little uphill spot here. I think the temperatures, a little bit of a breeze. We had a cold front that moved through. The fact that the air is colder and more humid, I think that's had more of a negative effect on it than probably any drag that I've experienced. So probably at highway speeds, I don't really know if it would make that much difference, but I may do, if I can get a warmer temperatures, I may do a second round. So let's see what we can do. All right, round number 2. Dang, I'm gonna stop that. It's a little bit warmer today than that first go around. Shut up. We're on the straightaway now. 49 over 4. I think it was registering like 47 when it was stock. Let's see if it bumps up a little bit here now. I think with the stock exhaust, I was ranging between 47 and 57 or something like that when it went downhill a little bit. It was 81 degrees outside. It's a little bit cooler today, and then the second round I did, it was a lot colder, and plus just the driving sucked. It was windy, but around 62. And I think that's actually stock. It was 81 degrees outside stock. It was 47, went up to 57, and now with the aftermarket, it was like 49, then getting up to what was it, 59 or something like that. 62. Jumped in at one time, which I'm going up a little hill now. That's the end of the test right there. So, actually didn't make that much difference, I don't think. Okay, guys. So here's the conclusion. We did the run with the stock exhaust, see what kind of the efficiency was in that test area. I did 2 runs with the aftermarket exhaust, and that second run, okay, it was really, really cold outside. That could have had an effect on things a little bit, but it was cold. It was also windy. It didn't seem to have an immediate effect on the average, but maybe that one little downhill section, I didn't get that little peak of efficiency that I normally do. But then on the second run, it was a little bit warmer. It still wasn't 81 degrees like it was on the first run with the stock exhaust. But on the third run, which had been the second run with the aftermarket exhaust, 65 mile an hour, it was still about 15 degrees cooler than I think than it was on the stock exhaust run. But I didn't really notice. Matter of fact, it may have got a couple miles to the gallon more on that same little stretch. Could have been just the humidity. Don't really know if the exhaust itself has any effect on that, but my ultimate conclusion is under normal highway driving, 60, 65 mile an hour, I don't think you would notice that much of a difference as far as wind drag is concerned. Now, if you're on a track and lap times are really important to you, then yeah, when you're getting, speeds exceeding, 70, 80, 90, 100 miles an hour, yeah, I would most definitely think you're probably going to get some drag behind. That's just a huge gap that the aftermarket exhaust leaves in the back. So there's all that space in there for wind to start whipping around and stuff like that. So if this is just your daily driver, you don't plan on tracking it or doing anything serious with it, I don't think that the aftermarket exhaust is going to cause enough drag for it to really affect your pocketbook very much. Then again, higher speeds, or if you got a really heavy headwind, could affect it. But in general, I don't think it's much of a concern for you to run out and spend $600 on a Veris rear diffuser to try to mitigate an issue that really isn't there under normal conditions. But yeah, also if you are planning on getting a rear diffuser later, at the making this video, Veris was the only company that I know of that makes true rear diffusers for the Miata ND. There's a couple other companies out there that make diffusers, but they're mostly for looks. But Veris, to my knowledge, is the only company that makes an actual true effective functional rear diffuser for these vehicles. They also make front splitters, side splitters, canards, all kind of stuff for these vehicles, so you can check them out. But if you're planning on getting a rear diffuser, just as a side note, the Goodwin Racing Roadster Sport Race, the single tip that I put on this one, as far as Goodwin Racing is concerned, that is the only exhaust that will work with the Veris rear diffuser. If you have the Super Street single tip or the Super Street dual tip, it will take modifying the rear diffuser itself, cutting on it and stuff like that, which I am not a fan of, because that could have the effect, I believe, on the effectiveness of the diffuser itself. But if you have the Roadster Sport Race, it should fit right on there with no problem at all whatsoever. I know Goodwood Racing makes a couple other exhausts. I think they make some other dual tips or stuff like that. I can't remember what the names of them are, but they're pretty doggone pricey. But anyway, with that said, you want to get the exhaust, worried about drag, get it, slap it on there, drive it daily. I don't think you have anything to worry about. Anyway, guys, y'all have a good one. I'll catch you later. Safe driving.